We've been married about 15 months, and we happened to meet on the internet, by the way.
You know, at first, I was like, I don't know, maybe he's from Chicago, he might be a slick. And we got to talking, and I realized he was a man of integrity. This is the best age ever. Because you've been through some experiences and you know some things that you didn't understand earlier in life.
You can appreciate it, I think, now that you can look back on certain things.
You know, true passion is grown out of understanding and knowing someone.
The power of our love is integrity and honesty.
We just tell each other the truth, even when we don't
agree.
Yeah, exactly. We agree to disagree.
Yeah, that's right. My love for you is
what?
Genuine and real.
My love for you is complete.
We've been married about 15 months, and we happened to meet on the internet, by the way.
You know, at first, I was like, I don't know, maybe he's from Chicago, he might be a slick. And we got to talking, and I realized.
Patriotism. There's a word thrown around a lot. It inspires passionate debate and is worn like a badge of honor, and with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. Love. For a word designed to unite, it can also be pretty divisive. You see, there's more to patriotism than flag sequin onesies and rodeos and quadruple cheeseburgers. Patriotism is love for a country, not just pride in it. But what really makes up this country of ours? What is it we love? It's more than just a huge rock full of animals like cougars and eagles, right? It's the people. Do me a favor. Close your eyes for a second. I want to try something out. Picture the average U.S. citizen. Think about it. How old are they? What's their hair like? How much can they bench? You got one? Okay. So chances are, the person you're picturing right now looks a little different to the real average American. There are 319 million U.S. citizens. 51% are female. So first off, the average American is a woman. Cool, huh? Is that what you pictured? 54 million are Latino, 40 million senior citizens, 27 million are disabled, 18 million are Asian. That's more people in the U.S. than play football and baseball combined. 9 million are lesbian, gay, bi, transgender, more than the entire amount of people that live in the state of Virginia. Around 10 million are redhead, 5.1 million play ultimate frisbee, and 3.5 million are Muslim. Triple the number of people currently serving in the United States military. Almost half the country belongs to minority groups. People who are lesbian, African American, and bi, and transgender, and Native American, and proud of it. We know that labels don't devalue us, they help define us, keeping us dialed into our cultures and our beliefs and who we are as Americans. After all, what's more American than freedom to celebrate the things that make us, us? I mean, it's stitched into the stars and stripes of this country, from the Constitution to Gettysburg, to our motto, E pluribus unum, from many, one. It's even in our country's name, the United States. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, disability, sexuality, race, religion, and any other labels. Because the second any of us judge people based on those labels, we're not really being patriotic, are we? So let's try this one more time. Close your eyes. Picture the average Joe or Joan or Juan or Jean-Luc. The real people who make America, America.
Hey, I'm super excited. Welcome to the Hearing Her Story show with Dr. Toy. I'm super excited today to have Dr. Janelle on with us. She's an optometrist, and she's also co-founder of SCORE with her sister doctor, Dr. Joya.
Yes.
And her optometry office is Brilliant Eyes Vision Center. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm excited. Are you excited today?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
This is awesome.
In this weather in Atlanta that we don't know what to do with, right?
No.
We're so in between.
Yeah. So
right?
today we're spring.
We're spring today. But it's spring and winter, I feel like, right? So we're just going to jump right in. We're going to be talking today about Dr. Janelle's journey, how she became optometrist, what and the reason why she co-founded SCORE, and we're going to talk about an event that they're having, a phenomenal STEM event for girls next week. So let's get into it.
So yes, as Dr. Toy stated, I'm Dr. Janelle. I'm an optometrist, and I've been practicing. This year will be my 13th year.
Nice, congratulations.
Thank you. And I own my own practice in Marietta, and this is our 9th year.
Awesome.
So I've hit the ground running once I finished optometry school. My journey is an interesting journey.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't always want to be an optometrist.
Yeah.
I used to want to be a pediatrician.
Oh, okay.
So I always wanted to be in healthcare, wanted to help people, and according to my mom, I wanted to be a doctor since I was like 4 or 5.
Nice. Okay.
So she kind of pushed me and exposed me as much as she could. Any doctor she ever met, even if they weren't pediatricians, she was putting me in their face. And so I had all these people in my Rolodex at the time.
Yeah.
So all the way up until about sophomore year of college, I was still thinking I wanted to be a pediatrician.
Okay.
And then one day I was just tired because it's real. It's hard. You know, I was a biology major, minor in chemistry, and after a while it started to get to me. And I'm thinking to myself, do I want to do this for another 12, 13, 14 years? Because that's how much time you would have to commit if you really wanted to go on to be a pediatrician.
Okay.
Because I have a cousin who's a pediatrician.
Okay.
So I was like, well, what can I do? Well, I'm still helping people. I'm still in the healthcare field, but I could be done before I'm 30 years old.
Okay.
And so I was home on a break, and I was talking to my optometrist because I wore glasses. So I would see my optometrist regularly, and I was kind of telling her about my journey and what I was experiencing, how I was kind of tired.
Right.
And my optometrist at the time was a black female optometrist, and I didn't realize how important this was and how big this was, because there only at that time were 5 in the state of Michigan, and I happened to have one of them.
Okay.
So I was telling her, and she said, why don't you think about optometry? You know, it's a great field. It's a great field for a woman, especially if you want to be able to have kids. You can own your own practice. You can teach. Pretty much the sky is the limit once you have that doctorate degree. And then you're still helping people and making a big difference in the healthcare.
Right.
So, of course, when I went back to school, and I was at Xavier University. Xavier University is the HBCU. HU. But they're known for placing African Americans into any healthcare profession. Medical school, we're #1.
Yeah.
So they have a blueprint to make sure if that's what you want to do, you work hard, you will be able to go matriculate to medical, podiatry, optometry. So I went back, and they have a pre-med center. So I went to the pre-med center where they have a lot of resources. So I looked up an optometrist.
Okay.
So I found an optometrist, and it happened to be another black female optometrist. I called her and told her what I was thinking about doing, and she let me come and shadow her.
Okay.
So that whole semester, the second semester of sophomore year, I shadowed her, talked to her. She took me out to lunches, let me shadow and intern in her office. Then after that, I decided I for sure wanted to be an optometrist.
Nice.
So she helped make write recommendations, because you do have to have a recommendation from an optometrist to go to optometry school. So they basically force you to make sure that that's something you want to do. So you have to seek out optometrists if you don't have your own one to be able to write that recommendation for you. And then the sky is the limit. I applied to 3 optometry schools, got accepted to all of them. I started off in a school in Boston, and this is when my journey got interesting. So coming off of HBCU, you know, I was like, ooh, I'm comfortable in my skin, you know. And the reason I went there, because I grew up, you know, I grew up in the suburbs of Detroit.
Okay.
And the particular school I went to, when I graduated, it was like 200 students. And once I started going in the higher level classes, there were very few students who looked like me.
Right.
6th grade, I was the only black girl in the whole 6th grade class. And I don't know how that happens in the 90s, but that was the case. So that's how my high school and middle school years were.
Okay.
So by the time I was a senior in high school, I really wanted to be around people who looked like me and just to see us a different life. So that's when Xavier really was appealing. I went there. And then after I came off that high, I'm back in Boston, you know, where I'm in a class. There's like, I think it was like 60 of us in the class. And I think 4 or 5 were black, and I think it was 2 black females, which is okay, but that particular institution wasn't very welcoming to diversity.
Right.
And I can sense that immediately.
Right.
So the first semester was rough, and I'm thinking it's a 4-year program, and it's cold, it's a lot of snow. I had to live far, because once you're on the East Coast, the living is different. You know, it's kind of like you're taking trains, and I came from Michigan, And then before that, I was in Louisiana, so I'm used to getting in my car and driving. So I'm sitting there thinking, like, I don't know if I could be successful here. And that's a lot of things I like to tell young women. If you know you can't be successful, then it's okay. Step back, take a moment. That next semester, I went back and I went to the Dean of Admissions and I said, I don't want to be here. So what can I do to leave so you don't charge me for the whole year? And so he said, well, where do you want to be? And there was another optometry school that I had got accepted to, but I would have had to take an extra few more steps to make sure I started that class. So I was trying to cut corners, basically. And so I told him what school I really wanted to go to, and he said, well, I will talk to the Dean of Admissions over there, and, you know, tell me why you don't feel you'll be successful here at this institution. I told him, I was like, it's not very welcoming to people who don't necessarily look like you. And I'm realistic, and I'm not going to pay this money, and if I'm not going to be successful. And he was open to listen to what suggestions I had for people who were of color or minority students that were going to be coming there. And he did actually talk to the Dean of Admissions at the other school. So I basically went home for a semester, and the next semester I was in a whole nother optometry school. And that's unheard of. It's very hard to drop out of any professional school and be able to get into another professional school within a year. And so once I went to school in Philadelphia, it was still where the ratio was low, but we had administrators who were of color who fought for students who were there to make sure if you got there, you finished, versus that was the difference where I came from before. It was like they took you to fill their quota, but they didn't really care if you finished. So I went to school in Philadelphia, did my 4 years there, did my internships. Along the way, I met my husband. And he, met him, and he was working in Michigan at General Motors because he's a Georgia Tech graduate. He's an engineer, so he took his first job in Michigan. That's how I met him, that interim. So when I had dropped out, I was home in Michigan. That's how I met my hubby. So he was in Michigan. I was in Philadelphia. You know, he would come visit me, and then 4 years later, I was finished, moved to Atlanta once we got married. And I've been here practicing and being part of the community ever since, trying to make a name for optometry.
And I love all of that. I absolutely heard tweens and teens. I hear in this that you have to be resilient, right?
Yes.
You kept pushing, you were persistent, and you knew what you wanted to do.
Exactly.
And you were a leader from the start.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. Just give the tweens and teens just a little bit more. If there is something that they come against, such as that, because that was a challenge, an obstacle. And we at Secret Miracles Unlimited Foundation, as the audience knows and those that are new, Secret Miracles Unlimited Foundation was formed so that we could assist any girl, but every girl to overcome their obstacle. And so I heard that in your conversation, right, that you had to overcome that, and you knew that, okay, this isn't for me because I need to stand up for African American in the STEM profession. So let's talk about STEM profession and overcoming the obstacle.
Yes, the key is to know yourself and be comfortable in who you are, and that usually will help you be successful because you're going to come against challenges at any career, particularly the STEM careers. They're very challenging. In a lot of those situations, there can be very few people that look like you, especially if you're a woman, and particularly have to be a woman of color. So that's one big barrier that you have to deal with. And if you're already kind of not comfortable in your skin and know where you can be successful, and know that it's okay to be in those environments where you're maybe the only person that looks like you, but at the same time, if they're not welcoming and not open-minded to diversity, then you may have to step back and find another institution, another corporation that you could work for who is willing to be able to make you comfortable and be welcoming to diversity. You know, along my journey at each place, you know, if you hear, I was in New Orleans, I was in Philadelphia, I was in Boston, I'm originally from Michigan, now I'm here in Atlanta. So I've lived in a lot of different places, and I didn't take mommy and daddy with me. I'm the oldest, so I didn't have any siblings with me. So when I got there, that's one challenge, being able to be able to acclimate yourself to different cities and ways of life, but still being true to who you are and know where you can thrive. So I just made sure that every step that I went, that it was somewhere that I can thrive, and I wasn't particular about keeping up with what everybody else was doing. To drop out of a school, you know, because we were like, yeah, drop out, yeah, right, you got kicked out. No, I dropped out. I could have stayed there, but it's a 4-year institution, and I'm paying them. So I'm not going to stay somewhere where I felt like my dollar and my education wasn't as valued as someone else. So I went home, and so when I went home, a lot of people were looking like, what's she doing there? I thought she was in Boston. What's she doing home? And I like to tell teens and tweens that it's okay, as long as you know where your path is leading, what move you're making is going to help project you to where you want to be, then let people look, let people whisper, because at the end of the day, if you stay true to yourself, those eventual whispers and looks will go away.
They will.
So a year later, I'm in another school, so people are like, okay, well, I guess she had a plan. As long as you have a plan, that's all that matters. And to keep yourself around people who are supportive of you and your plan.
Yes.
And my parents were very supportive. I called my mom and I said, look, this is not going to work. She said, well, what you want me to do? I'll come get you. So I said, well, you come get me. So she came and got me from Michigan. And at the time, I had a friend in Philadelphia who was working for Goldman Sachs. So, New York.
Okay.
So we both graduated from Xavier. She was off in New York. I was in Boston. We would go visit. And I called her, and she said, why don't you come stay with me for a couple weeks just to relax and regroup yourself and then go home. And that's what I did. So once I got home, I figured out I still wanted to be an optometrist, and I just made it happen. I got on the phone, I made some calls, I resubmitted some applications, got another interview, and like I said, within the next semester, I was starting a new school.
Nice.
So just being true to yourself, and that usually will help you get through a lot of obstacles. We're not worrying about what other people are thinking or saying about your path.
Exactly. Know your path.
Yes.
Right? That's what we're getting from that. Let's talk about networking, because you resubmitted application. But along that path, you had to network. Let's talk about that, because it's so important that tweens and teens understand that building relationships is key to every part of their life. You know, a lot of them, our demographic is 10 to 19, and we'll be talking about SCORE in just a moment. But from 9, it is so important to start having a mindset of building good, solid relationships, because it takes you to the next place, right? So let's talk about that. With your resubmitting and then getting into school, what you consider dropping out of school to get back into school, for you to become, and I like to say throughout the show, for the tween and the teen, eye doctor, so you understand who she is as we're sitting here. So for you to become eye doctor, what did it take?
Well, I started networking in relationships early on. Like I said, I used to want to be a pediatrician, but I knew primary care doctors, cardiologists. I was the type of child that if you were a doctor, I was going to say, hey, how are you? My name is Janelle. I want to be a doctor as well. Where did you go to school? And I would add those names to, back in the day, we didn't have cell phones. I said my Rolodex. I would get a card. I had business cards. You know, I would make it a point to go up and make sure I surrounded myself by people who were doing what I eventually thought I wanted to do, and particularly people who look like me. So I had a husband and wife couple that I shadowed a lot. They were both doctors. One was an internal medicine doctor. I believe the other was a cardiologist. And they let me come do rounds. They really exposed me to a lot of things that, had I not persisted and established those relationships, I wouldn't be able to have done those things. I did research at Wayne State. And everybody knows me, I don't like animals, not an animal fan, but I'm doing research on rats and picking up rats and doing research for as diabetes. And people would say, well, how did you able to do something like this? It was those relationships I built when I was like in 8th grade, 6th grade. I would make it a point to introduce myself to people and keep those people, and don't burn bridges. And you don't burn bridges by reaching out, letting people know that you're still interested in pursuing this particular career. And like I said, pediatrician, cardiologist, internal medicine, they're not all the same, but the path is very similar. So that's one thing. And then optometry school, the school I ended up going to, when I was at Xavier, they did I think it was like a career day. They would come down, they had booths set up, and different medical and optometry schools would come there. And I heard about the career fair that they were having, and I went. So I went to the table and I met the gentleman. I said, you know, I'm interested in going to optometry school. You know, what type of things are you guys looking for? You know, would I be competitive enough? And he gave me tips saying, you know, people like to see people who are well-rounded. So make sure I see you have a job. I worked when I was in college. So he said, you have a job, you're active, you're in the community, and you have this biology major, chemistry. So that helps when you're a diverse and more well-rounded person. And that person is the one that helped me get into the next school. So I built that relationship with him by him coming down to Xavier University and got his information. And when I left that school, I was able to call him and say, I don't know if you remember, but when you came down, I reintroduced myself. He said, oh, yeah, I do remember. And I said, now, I told him what happened and what I'm interested in doing. He said, well, let me go talk to some people. So it's important early on to not only establish relationships, but don't burn bridges.
Exactly.
You know, don't burn bridges. There's an etiquette or a decent way to remove yourself from certain situations. You know, my mom always taught me at an early age, be respectful. Be respectful to your elders. Treat people the way you want to be treated, even if they may not do the same for you. Because that same person may come around 10 years later.
Absolutely.
And you're like,
that
woo,
so
I'm glad I wasn't.
I'm glad I was not that person that I could have been, right? That is so good, tweens and teens, that you do not burn bridges, right? That you stay consistent.
Yes.
Consistent with your attitude, because it will follow you. That is for sure.
Yes.
Let's talk about distractions, right? Because your journey was not an easy one, as they've heard. And let's talk about and pull all the way back to 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. Like, let's talk about it, right? And because I like for them to hear real life experiences and stories of, you see Dr. Janelle here right now, but what was Dr. Janelle then? Who was she? How did she even get to that point, right? And we understand how I now, but before let's talk about that.
Going back.
Yes.
So I was and still am an introvert.
Okay.
A lot of people don't believe that I was an introvert,
I really
quiet.
don't believe that, but yeah.
But I can turn it off and on. But
Okay.
I'm an introvert. I was more of an introvert back in 5th, 6th, and 7th grade, things like that. Kind of shy, nerdy, not very athletic at all. And I knew early on I was not athletic, so I spent a lot of time doing a lot of community service. Kindergarten to 5th grade, I was at a pretty diverse elementary school, so there were people who looked like me, didn't look like me, but we all got along. We were happy little kids.
Yes.
So it was a shocker going to middle school, you know, and that's a pivotal time in your life to begin with,
Sure.
where, you know, there's nobody else that looks like you. So in the whole 6th grade class, there was only 3 kids of color, two black boys and me. One of them I really still good friends with, because we basically went to middle school, high school together.
Okay.
And so that was a shocker. It was a shocker. I was kind of mad at my parents because I was one of the people that planned my life out. So I was like, I'm going to go to this high school. So they have these different magnet high schools in Detroit area. I wanted to go to Renaissance High School. I knew where I wanted to go to college. And so when they moved, it was like, okay, what is this?
Right.
What is this? And so I had to pretty grow up fast, get out of my shell fast. You know, there's stories of ways that I was treated that wasn't fair just because of how I look, and you'll be surprised how kids treat other kids. And at that age is learned behavior. And you know, I would come home, and I remember one day I specifically came home and asked my mother. I said, "Mom, what is a porch monkey?" And she goes, "What? Where did you hear that?" And I said, "Well, somebody at school called me that and told me I need to go back to Africa." And I'm thinking, I wasn't even born in Africa. I'm living in Michigan.
Right.
So those are kind of things that I was going through at an early age. So I just kind of retreated to my books. So I would end up being in middle school, I was a straight A student. High school, I did very well. I'm not some of these kids, 4.3s and things like that. I was about a 3.8.
Okay.
So I retreated to my books. I did a lot of community service. I was heavily involved in my church. In my church, to the point where I was in Bible bowls. I was representing a delegate at my church at the National Baptist Convention. So I come from a very Christian background. My father is a minister and is a pastor. So I did a lot of my church, did a lot of community service, and those are the things I kind of retreated where, you know, I can be uplifted by church members, God, and so therefore will let me be able to get through the week. And in my middle school and my high school years kind of mirrored each other. So high school was about the same. We had a few more kids who were of color. But like I said, as I took those college prep classes and was matriculating through and taking calculus, chemistry, physics, all those things in high school, there still wasn't a lot of students that looked like me. And a lot of teachers weren't so as helpful. I remember I had teachers that will, you know, give you the wrong grade on purpose. And if you weren't a person that would speak up for yourself, you have a B where you should have the A, which will make a difference in certain things that you would be able to be entitled to at the school as far as being able to move on. So at an early age, I had to learn to speak up for myself because I would go complain to my mom, and she was like, no. Speak up for yourself. Go in, and then if you can't get it done, then come get me.
Absolutely.
So at the time, I would learn to take all my papers, and it's like, well, I have all my papers, all of my grades. So if I have everything that has an A on it, how do you calculate a B? So I was a student. Like I think finally now I'm able to get rid of my schoolwork from because I got to the point where I would keep all of my papers because there would be times that I would have to fight for, I deserve an A, I've earned an A, how did you come up with the B? Where one time I had a whole new report card sent to me because the teacher purposely gave me the wrong grade. And at the time, I had all A's and it was a B, and it would have prevented me from getting something that I wanted to have at the school. They had like a gold card that would get you to different things at the school and all that stuff. So my mother taught me to speak up for myself at an early age. So I was doing these things at 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So of course, by the time I'm in college, it's no thing for me to go on to the financial aid, go talk to a teacher, and say, you know, I keep my work. So let's go through this grade book together. Because maybe something just happened. You looked on the wrong line. It's okay, but I have all my grades. So I learned that at an early age, how to speak up for yourself. And that definitely really helped me to come out of my shell. Because like I said, I was an introvert. Still am an introvert. If I'm not out doing these kind of things, I'm under a blanket at home, watching TV or something, just kind of relaxing. So just learning how to speak up for yourself.
I love it. Absolutely love speaking up for yourself. Tweens and teens, that's really important to understand. That Dr. Janelle did not say she was disrespectful, but that she stood and she actually went to fight for what she knew was right for her, right?
Yes.
And so that's amazing. Thank you, Mom, for teaching her that.
Don't be disrespectful.
Because don't be disrespectful, but you have a right, especially when you have facts.
Yes.
Especially when you have facts, to stand up for yourself, because it's going to, if she had not stood up for herself then, it could have affected everything else that you did, right?
Yes, yes.
And so that's really important. So thank you for sharing that story. I want to get into now SCORE.
Yes.
And let's talk about your sister doctor.
Yes.
Dr. Joya.
Yes.
Hi, Joya. Hey. And so let's talk about how that was formed. And I know that Joya is not here to speak, but how she then became dentist. Let's just talk about the relationship, biological sisters.
Yes.
They are sister doctors. So let's just talk about that and talk about the organization. And so I heard community service, so it's always been in you.
Yes.
And I must side note and say she's also my wonderful soror of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, so she has service in her heart. So let's talk about it.
Yes, so SCORE actually probably came about years ago. We just formulated, put a name to it in 2017.
Okay.
But yes, Dr. Joy, or Joy is my sister. We are 5 years apart, so I'm her older sister. So we grew up sharing rooms. So my parents, we was 5 of us. We had 3 bedrooms. One brother, so he lucked up and always got his own room. So we shared rooms literally until I went off to college. So we grew up together. We were very close. And then one year I came back from college, my first year of college. She was still in, I think it was in middle school at the time. And, you know, she was getting used to me not being there. And, you know, I think she was going to enter into high school. And she always wanted to be a dentist as well. She was 5 years old pulling out my teeth when I'm 10, you know, pulling our teeth out. And so it was like, she's going to be a dentist. So she always wanted to be a dentist, and she's actually a dentist now. So she was kind of getting discouraged going to high school. And so we made what's called a plan. So our plan was that we both were going to make sure we finished high school, college, go to, you know, at the time, optometry school, dental school, and then we're going to open a practice together is what we wanted to do. White and White, because our last names were White, dental and eye practice. So we're going to open a practice together. We're still going to do it until she got married and moved to Charlotte. That's another story.
You heard that, Joya?
So we're going to open a practice together. So what we did, we like wrote down our plan and we put it on our door in our room. So that way, every time I would come home from a break, I'd be like, and I would leave for break because, you know, I lived all over. I said, don't forget the plan. We were like, remember the plan. And my mother now, fast forward, she was like, I always saw that, but I never knew what that meant. And I was like, well, that was our plan. We wrote it down. And so fast forward 10 years or so, we're both living our plan. And we were on the phone talking about, you know, how difficult it was and how we didn't have a lot of people to tell us what to do. You know, if someone say, don't take this class with that class, you know, that's a guarantee you're going to have to end up dropping one of those classes. Or go here versus there. We just kind of had to pave our way. And by me being 5 years older, I was able to pave a way for myself, and I could recreate that blueprint and tell her. So I was able to pour that into her and made her journey a little easier. And she was, you know, because I think at one point, she went to Meharry, and Meharry takes thousands of applications, but they only may take 40 students in their incoming class. And so my sister was like, well, I'm not going to apply. I mean, 40 is no way I'm going to be able to get in. And then I need the application fees, or I know she was going to apply to multiple schools. And by this time, I am in optometry school. I don't work. I had student loans, but I said, and my parents, you know, they were teachers. So at a certain point, they're starting to get tapped out. And so I told her, I was like, well, you apply now. Because if you wait and you sit out a year, you'll get contempt, you know, and you won't go push forward. I said, I will pay for your application fees. And she's like, well, you don't have money. I'll figure it out. I'll pay for your application fees. I just need you to apply because you'll be surprised. I was like, she was like, well, I don't know if I can get in. I'm like, if you can get an A in organic, you can get into dental school. This is not easy to get an A in organic chemistry. So any of you STEM folks out there, science will take organic and biochemistry, all that stuff, that's not easy. And she was getting A's, and not just A's, busting the curve. So it's like, you deserve, you can get in. So she ended up applying, and she got in. She was one of those 40 students out of those thousands of applications. And she says, you know, had you not pushed me, I'm not saying I wouldn't necessarily be a dentist, but I don't, you know, you pushed me to keep moving, so I wouldn't sit out that time frame. And so after we were talking on the phone, because we talk weekly, almost every day, we were talking about our journey. We both do a lot of mentoring out of our practices. So she has her own practice in Charlotte, her and her husband. We mentor, we do a lot of things, and we will be able to mentor just the girls in our area and our practices. And we were trying to figure out a way how we can make it more impactful. How we can instill like we do in each other and establish these bonds. Because a lot of times it's just somebody saying, hey, you can do it. You can do it. I know you can do it. Just go ahead. That we came up with SCORE. We said we should come up with a nonprofit, and that way we can pour more into the Atlanta area and Charlotte areas, because that's where she lives. She lives in Charlotte. So our nonprofit services both areas. So we developed SCORE in 2017 in January. By August, we had our 503 status, and we did all this stuff ourselves. My sister wrote and got the 503 status. She's good behind the scenes. She's more of an introvert than me, so I can flip it on. She's like, no, I don't even want to flip it on. You go ahead and do it. So I'm the face. I'm out here. She's behind the scenes. She does all the accounting. She's a CFO. And so we started SCORE. We did our first internship in 2017. So what makes our internship unique is about 6 to 7 week internship, but you work in a healthcare provider's office. You intern in their office, and you have balanced clerical time and shadowing time, but then you also have a curriculum, and the curriculum is oratorical skills, dress for success, time management, as well as there was one other one to escape my memory right now, but we have a curriculum, and so we sit down and we have different classes that we do throughout that internship, and at the end you have to do a big presentation, and that helps you get in front of people talking and prepare a PowerPoint slide. And so this year we're taking it a step further, and that's when our event is coming up. It's Passport to Success, our E3 conference, and the E3 stands for exposure, encouragement, and empowerment. Those we feel are the things that we at SCORE we want to be able to do for these girls on their STEM journey. So it's not only for girls who want to be doctors, but girls who are in STEM, period. As we start to dive into the statistics. So by me doing what I do, I end up by default surrounded by a lot of women who do what I do. And so, and same with my sister. So sometimes, unless you really go in to look at statistics, you get kind of jaded in what the real life is. So when you dig down, in 2015, only 24% of the working force was of women in STEM careers. You dig deeper, it's only 10% of brown and black girls. So Latinas and African Americans. So we are very, very underrepresented. It's very underrepresented. And once we were looking at that, we were like, that's just horrible. You know, what can we do? And it's not because a lot of these girls don't have the grades. It's like they just get pushed out there and they're left. And if you don't have anybody to say, you know, some of my mentees, well, why would you take this class with that class? You know, that you don't take biochemistry and this with it. That's hard. It's a guarantee that one of those classes may not come out the way that you want. You probably should have taken this. So just giving them encouragement. So one of my mentees said, I wish I'd have met you early on in my journey, because I'm here at Wake Forest, but I just feel like nobody cares about me. And I finished, but now that I'm done, I'm not where I need to be to get somewhere else. So, and that's when we SCORE. We're doing our mentorship. And so the Passport Success is a conference, an empowerment conference, to be able to bring STEM leaders in the community with these girls who are aspiring to do these different journeys. So we have a STEM panel that we're going to do. We have 2 scientists on the panel. We have a marine biologist. Yes, we have a marine biologist, we have an embryologist, things you may not be thinking about. And these are women of color doing these things. We have an engineer, OBGYN, a math professor, and then we're going to be moderated by Commissioner Lisa Cupid. And her story is unique because she started off as an engineer. And the way I know her is because she went to Georgia Tech with my husband. So she has an engineering degree, which propelled her into politics, and now she has a law degree. So she's going to come moderate the conference for us. And then after that, we're going to have some breakout sessions. So it's just going to allow the girls to be surrounded by women who are in the STEM career, living their STEM life, and be able to give you some encouragement. And then we're going to go from there in September in Charlotte. We're having an HBCU experience because we're both HBCU graduates. I went to Xavier, my sister went to Hampton. So we're just all about exposing girls to STEM careers and empowering and encouraging them so that way their STEM journey is a little less strenuous. It's gonna be hard.
It's not
but
easy,
not at all. But just a little less, and you feel like you have somebody in your corner.
And I was only able to attest to it not being easy only because I'm an electronic data STEM professional by trade, and so I understand it. Not medical doctor. But I understand STEM, and so I would like to say thank you because starting in the field back in 2000. It was none of us. And so that's a big deal. So us and girl and woman, that is amazing. I want to touch SCORE. So the name. How did you come up with that and why?
So SCORE is an acronym. So we were thinking about what attributes we think make up a STEM girl. So SCORE stands for successful, confident, optimistic, regal, and engaging. So those, and so we came up with SCORE. So we score, and when we score, these are the characteristics and the attributes that are going to help us score and get us to that next level.
I love it. Now let's talk about, because I heard you say, and then we're going to give the information for the event that's coming up next weekend, but the HBCU experience in Charlotte, when is that?
That is September 28th.
Okay, 28th.
Yes.
And so they can also go to the same website and everything?
Yes, we're same website. We're on all the social media. So Facebook, you'll be able to go to Facebook, look up We Score on Facebook, and you'll be able to get the link for the event, which I'm so excited. This is our inaugural conference, and we're 95% at capacity. So we're overwhelmed by the response. I was like, I should have got an auditorium. So clearly there is a need, and we have teachers bringing groups of students. We have mentors bringing their mentees. So this is going to be an amazing event. But if you follow us on our social media platforms, you'll be able to find out about all the different events we have. We also post information about different scholarships, and different things that are around in the community. So just having my practice in the community, sometimes I get information or different scholarships and different organizations and things that are gearing towards teens, and I shoot those things out on those social media platforms, and I usually go follow, look, and I'm like, oh, there's a SCORE girl, there's a girl that was in our program that will end up benefiting from different things that are happening in the community. So there's a lot of great information on our social media platforms, and then we have a website at wescore.org.
Love it. And we'll give that information again before we end. But I want to say, again, thank you for doing this. This is amazing. Thank you, Dr. Joya, you as well, because I know that it's going to catapult us into what we need to be. Like those numbers, and we have been so underrepresented in the STEM profession for so many years that it's about time. Right? It's about our time. Let's talk about it. I want to transition it just a little bit about a day in the life of Dr. Janelle.
Day in the life. So like I said, I'm on practice, but I do have 2 children. I have who will be celebrating. They celebrate their birthdays this week. So I managed to have 2 kids exactly 3 years apart, 4 days apart. So I'm getting up early. I'm getting the kids off to school. Some days they take the bus, and some days I'm dropping them off if we're running behind. I get to the office. Most days I start at 8. Once I get in, I'm getting settled in my desk, get my coffee, and that's an adult thing. I started drinking coffee. Didn't drink any coffee, hot chocolate. Once I got these kids, some coffee. And then I'm right at it, seeing patients. I'm seeing patients most of the day. As an optometrist, we're evaluating the eye. We're treating and managing different eye diseases, in addition to prescribing glasses and contact lenses. We prescribe specialty contact lenses for patients who have certain eye diseases where glasses just will not be beneficial for them. We co-manage with different specialists. So I have an arsenal of retina specialists, glaucoma specialists, cornea specialists that we work together in tandem. So there's like your tertiary care. So if I send you or refer you to one of those doctors, they know that at this point you need some more intervention, usually some surgical intervention. I'm managing staff. I have 5 to 6 employees beside myself. I usually have interns in my office. We just finished our round of interns and medical assistants from Fortis College. Between them and I usually have high school interns. We have a good relationship with McEachern High School and South Cobb, so we get interns through those programs. And I'm seeing patients all day. Then I leave, and then I'm putting on my mommy hat when I leave. Usually going to dance practice or baseball. My son's at a baseball game now. And then we get home, we're doing homework. My husband actually cooks. I could cook, but I get home so late. It's better that he starts. So thank God my husband knows how to cook. He's actually a very good cook, and he likes to do it.
Good.
So he's usually cooking, and we're doing homework. And then we start all over the next day.
Okay.
So I'm wearing multiple hats: mommy hat, business owner, eye doctor throughout the day.
Yeah, and I wanted, and I love that question because I often like for the tweens and the teens to hear multitasking.
Yes.
And that you can get it all done.
You can.
And earlier, and I was going to mention this, but earlier because of you and your sister writing it down to make it plain, like you've always been a multitasker. You've always been a planner. Tweens and teens, it's so important to just write it down, make it plain so that you can get to that goal, so that when you're an adult, like Dr. Janelle, you're able to balance family, work, hats, community, right?
Yes.
And so that's phenomenal. Let's give the tweens and teens some advice. So what advice would you have given your younger self?
Younger self.
Yes.
Learn earlier on that what people think, I won't say it doesn't matter, but you don't have to internalize it. And if it does matter, make sure it's coming from the right person. Right. So someone who's in your corner, your mom, your sister, your grandmother, people who have your best interests at heart. Because a lot of times your vision may be one thing, your path may be over here, and they may just not understand.
Yes.
So if you're always concerned about what somebody else thinks that does not know your plan or your path, it would derail you. So I've learned, I've gotten better, and certain situations in my life made me have to learn faster that I have to support me, I have to encourage me, and it doesn't necessarily matter what everybody else thinks about what I'm doing because they don't know my path.
Yes.
So long as I know my path, I'm secure in my path, and God has got my back.
And God has got your
got my back. Okay?
Yes.
Then you could think what you want to think.
Absolutely.
You know, and then eventually people will come around and say, wow, you know, I don't know what you were doing, but I definitely see where it has placed you.
Yes,
So that definitely is learn early on. I tell that to my patients. With patients, you know, I prescribe glasses, so I have kids who need them who won't wear them because other kids will tease them. So kids need to learn, and parents teach your children compassion.
Right.
If somebody's wearing glasses, it's because they literally
need them. They have to see.
They can't see, and seeing is paramount in being able to be successful.
Yes.
So when they come back and they're not wearing their glasses and they're sometimes crying because kids are picking on them, I say, well, I know it's hard because I used to be in middle school and in the 5th grade as well, but you have to learn it doesn't matter what other people think. You need to see. You want to get good grades, so you have to be able to wear your glasses.
Yes.
So learn early on that don't internalize and don't make what other people think how you govern your life.
Absolutely.
Unless those people are for sure in your corner. Yes.
Yeah. I was able to get something from that, and it just hit me because it's so much that happens with the teasing and the bullying and the things that are in school that in this space, tweens and teens, like if you need to see, say it. Like don't hide it because you feel like you're going to be teased, right? As you get older, your eyes are going to get worse if you don't, all of that. And you have now resources, and I'm going to give Secret Miracles information because it was formed so that you would see every resource and or every woman available to you. And Dr. Janelle, I know for sure, will be able to guide you. And so I'm putting that out there because, Dr. Janelle, we do have some viewers that are in different places. Okay. And they may not have the direct support. And so Secret Miracles Unlimited is here to connect them with women such as yourself. Okay. And so I wanted to put that out there, but that's really, really important for you to know. And no, she may not be in your area, but she can give you some guidance. And if you need glasses, you need to go get them. I may be speaking to myself as well as an adult because I was that girl. Like I wasn't worried about the teasing, but I was telling you earlier, right? Yes. Like I didn't have a problem going to the dentist because I used to suck my finger. I was that person until I was 12. And my cousins was like, okay, we're putting hot sauce on your finger. We know all this. So I was very passionate about my teeth. Thank you, Dr. Rogers. And so I'm very passionate about that. I don't mind going to primary. But I was having this thing about the eye doctor. But thank goodness I'm going to see Dr. Janelle, even myself. So thank you for that. And I wanted to just say that because it just hit me that some kids may really, truly need to see. You need to say something, right? Can you talk to them about how important that is?
Yes, I would say that. Yeah, to see. It's, like I said, it's paramount. You need to be able to see so that you can be productive, that you can be get things done in an efficient time manner, and to be confident. I have had kids that couldn't see get glasses, and all of a sudden they have a big smile on their face. They're looking at the world from a different lens, and all the cliche that goes along with it. So those cliches that people put on, they're smiling, they're giving you hugs. Yes, they are, because they're very appreciative to be able to see. Sometimes we take for granted our vision unless we start to lose some of our vision.
Absolutely.
So it's paramount. And then I like to say, too, for any parents that are listening, sometimes don't wait for your child to say that they can't see. Because a lot of times there are kids who don't know what they're seeing is not necessarily not normal. They'll think, and I've had teens that tell me, well, I didn't get glasses when I was 15, but I'm pretty sure I needed when I was like 10 or 9. But I just thought that's how I can see, and I thought what I was not seeing is what everybody else didn't see. So there's time where kids won't complain. So usually I say by the age of 3, we recommend a full eye exam outside what they get with the pediatrician. A, we're going to make sure there's no underlying prescription. And then B, we're going to make sure the eye is developing normally and that it's healthy. So we will evaluate your optic nerve, your retina, all those things that help you see in addition to having glasses. So the glasses will work if those things are healthy. So we need to make sure all those things are healthy. So those are things that we're looking for as well when you come in. So by the age of 3, so if you're 9 or 10, you've never had an eye doctor evaluate your eyes, that is something that you want to get your mom to put on her list of things to do. And kids are really good about urging their parents. You know, when you were in school, the nurse would come, the dentist would come, you go home and be like, Mom, you need to set me up an appointment. Don't wait for them to complain.
Right. That's good. That's good advice. Very, very good advice. So parents, if you're listening, take heed to that for your children, okay? So let's talk about, and we touched it just a little bit, but let's talk about distractions, and if I want to go to school for kids, right? We talked about it just a little bit, and how if they're dealing with, let's just stay on the teasing, right? If they're dealing with that, how do they overcome it?
Well, like I said, stand up for yourself. You know, yeah, I was teased. I don't think there's very few people who don't get teased. I was teased, but I always learned, you know, quick comeback. You know, back in the day, you could shoot the dozen, joning, some good your mama jokes. You know, you know, I had a lot of cousins. You know, I have like 31st cousins, so you get joned on, and they'll thicken your skin. So sometimes I will have a quick comeback. I'm in the process of teaching my kids. You know, you can tell, especially if there's physical things involved. You need to tell. But sometimes if you stand up for yourself, they will see that you're somebody that cannot be easily preyed on, and they may move on to the next. And if you see some teasing someone else, then stick up for those people. So I will usually have a quick comeback. I always have a few comebacks in my pocket that usually will work, and then like, oh, okay, she have a comeback for me. You know, and if it escalated to the point where I really felt very uncomfortable where I was, then I would go tell a teacher. But then sometimes you may be in an environment like I was, where that teacher may not be a resource who's going to be able to stop what's happening. And then you definitely want to always tell your parents. So I knew my parents, you know, with Christian household, but if somebody messing with my mama baby, that's playing my babies now. So I knew I could tell my parents. So I always had a relationship that you would tell your parents what's happening, and therefore they can make sure it gets to the proper person at the school that it needs to happen to. But even now, starting at a young age, peer-to-peer, just learn to speak up for yourself. Say, I don't like how you're talking to me, or do that. It doesn't make me feel good. I don't like how it makes me feel. And sometimes people will kind of think and step back and say, you know, maybe what I said wasn't the nicest thing. And if someone said that to me, I wouldn't like that. Or sometimes you got to have a little comeback, you know. And then, like I said, just make sure you have that relationship with your parents. You can let them know. I always encourage my kids. I'll ask them, was somebody saying something to you? You know, how is school? How are the teachers? Are you okay? Is anybody? I'll say, is anybody bullying you? And my son's usually like, no, Mom, I'm fine. And my daughter, you know, she'll have, well, you know, such and such said this, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, she's 6 or 7, so you have to dig down.
And we have birthdays this week.
So, but you know, just make sure that you have that. You know, that way you know how you're going to communicate what's happening. Don't internalize that. Speak to somebody, because usually if you let it escalate, it's because it's been constantly, something constantly happening. Sometimes it can follow you to middle school from 5th grade if we're all going to be at the same schools, and sometimes to high school. So you do need to say to that person, does it make me feel good? Tell a teacher and or your parents.
And I wanted, and that's why I was pulling that, because it's so important, tweens and teens, and we often talk about this on that platform, because you are dealing with a lot of things. It's a lot of pressures in school today. And so I wanted to bring that back because you said earlier that your younger advice would be not to internalize, and that's really important. Do not internalize. Take Dr. Janelle's advice. Tell someone, speak to them if you can, if not escalate it, because you have to be comfortable, especially so you can learn and maybe become a doctor, right?
Or
whatever
STEM.
you want, STEM or whatever you want to become, but you have to speak up for yourself. So Dr. Janelle, I wanted to go back, and we only have a few more minutes, but I want to go back to SCORE.
Yes.
Because I heard the different, and it's every STEM professional or every STEM career that you're touching. Can you give some examples outside of the expo that you and Dr. Joy are doing? What do you do on a day-to-day with them? And then I also want to touch the internship program, because I heard the two schools that you mentioned, which was McEachern and South Cobb in Cobb County, Georgia. But what about the surrounding areas? Do you take those? So that's two questions.
So I'll start with the latter. The latter question is affiliated through my practice. They have a work-based learning program. But for SCORE, our internship for the summer, it is open to surrounding Metro Atlanta. So it's not only for Cobb County, but it's surrounding Metro Atlanta for the summer program. The summer program is 6 weeks. They do work. That program focuses on girls who want to be a doctor. So we usually pair you with different doctors in their offices. The other aspect of SCORE is the mentoring aspect. So if there is you want to be an engineer, we pair you with the engineer for mentoring. If you want to be a veterinarian, we have a veterinarian in our database. So we kind of pair you with women who are working and living that STEM life in those various aspects, so that you have someone to talk to, someone to kind of guide you on your journey. So our whole premise is getting guidance along the STEM journey, because we felt like that's what we were missing. A lot of the organizations out now for STEM are geared towards women who are already working in those fields, because you made it there, but it's still challenging. So you're still walking a lot of times in work, and the only person that may look like you, which is definitely understandable. We dig and we reach back a little further and catching the girls 14 to 18. Our internship is specifically for rising juniors, because at that point, if you're looking to go into a medical program, dental program, there are some key things that you really need to start piling up and getting together, and we feel like we're more moldable as a rising junior. But the mentor aspect of what we do and the HBCU experience starts early on in that journey.
Okay. I love that. I wanted to touch that because I knew that it was a broader platform.
Yes.
And so I wanted to make sure that the tweens and teens heard. In Georgia, and we're going to go beyond Georgia, right? Because we're North Carolina as well. But I believe that they're going to go further than that.
That's our goal. Our goal.
So provide your information. We only have about 5 more minutes. I will give the phone number if you have any questions really quickly. 678-528-9482. It's 678-528-9482 if you have any questions. Provide the information once more for the organization.
So the organization is SCORE. We have a website. It's WeScore.org. We are also on Facebook. You can follow us on Facebook at WeScore, and we're on Instagram, SCORE _Inc.
Yes.
On Instagram. And usually you can reach out to us at any of those platforms. Our internship application does open up May 1st, and the deadline is May 23rd. You can apply. You do want to go on the website to find out. You have to have a 3.0. You have to write a 500-word essay, and you need a recommendation from someone who is not a family member. So those are things that you want to start planning for, because you need to be able to do those things beyond high school. And then our Passport to Success is March 16th. It starts at 10 a.m. You do want to register. It is a registered event, so you want to go onto Facebook, and you will be able to get to the Eventbrite link from there to register. And you want to register quickly, because we've had a huge response all over the Metro Atlanta area, and we're at about 95% capacity. And then our HBCU experience is going to be in Charlotte on September 28th, and then we kind of rotate. So next year, the HBCU experience will be here, and our conference will be in Charlotte.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice. And for any twin and teen that knows me directly, because I'm STEM professional and it's to my heart, I am willing to write that recommendation letter, so reach out to me. And so I'm going to give Secret Miracles information so that if you have a desire to speak to Dr. Janelle, or you need information on the event for SCORE next week, that even though she's provided it, I will provide it again. So Secret Miracles information, Instagram is @Secret Miracles, On Twitter is secret_miracles. And then Facebook is Secret Miracles Unlimited Foundation. The phone number is 833-777-4475. Again, it's 833-777-4475. And remember, we're here as your resource in anything that you need. Dr. Janelle, thank you. This was very, very awesome. We're going to grow the STEM community with the girls of our color.
Yes,
because that's really, really important. And until next week, you all have a great, happy Miracle Day. And make sure that you go to Dr. Janelle and Dr. Joya's website at
WeScore.org.
WeScore.org. Until next Saturday, thank you to my 108 Praise family. Have a miracle day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
I came out in the 11th grade. Nobody was embracing you. The kids were cruel. It was very difficult to be gay. Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. And even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma. I have a mentor, Maria, and she convinced me to continue my education. Just never judges. She's a true role model.
From the depths of my heart, I thank you, Maria, for being a friend and a beautiful person. No one receives a diploma alone, and I'm honored to share this moment with you. Thank you.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, go get it. You can do it.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.